Izzy on the pseudo quest priest, I would say.
Sure. Yeah, no surprise to see the Hunter pick up a win either, because it was against Mage that came in game 3 of the series. And you look at this Hunter deck, you know, there's Spellbreakers to answer Doomsayers, there's Tracking and Stitch Tracker to just, you know, get to those cards that you need more consistently.
You effectively play 3 Spellbreakers.
Right, and just Hunter, just a classic counter Mages historically, even if you're not running Flame.
Yeah, 100%. And now, this matchup, though, is a little bit tougher, I think, or it will be tougher for Izzy. Often, the Mage can actually just draw so much and so fast that it's on the Priest player, Izzy, here, to actually make something happen versus Tyree making something happen. Tyree just says, I'm just going to draw my deck, then you're dead. That's how the deck works. Yeah. Izzy's going to have to pull something out of the bag here.
And in this matchup, you are generally looking for one of two things from your Kazaka potion. You're looking for a full tempo potion, summon 2, summon a 5/5, summon a 5/5 plus full health, something like that. Some potion that just adds a bunch of stats to the board. Or you're looking for a potion that does a bit of that and can kill a Doomsayer. Right? Because, you know, Frost Nova Doomsayer is one of the hardest things to deal with. You have Silence, Shadow of Pain, a couple of niche answers. But if you don't have that, the extra insurance policy of polymorph Kazaka's potion.
Yeah, Raza on 5 here for Izzy. Going to be really nice. Not so much because he needs the heals, but because he needs that 0 mana hero power to try and go off later with Anduin, with Velen, for example. I'll double check actually, yeah. Izzy is playing Velen, he's playing Cabal Shadow Priest. Get your rats on.
Big deal, but it's a big deal because it has to be specifically Antonidas. The quest mages have started to pack so much redundancy into the deck. We see many playing 2 copies of Simulacrum. Tare's not going for that, he's only playing 1, but that's still a redundancy. It means he can lose an apprentice to Dirty Rat, still has 2 copies of Mold Reflection and 1 Simulacrum, plus the possibility of discovering more from random effects. And that means he's still capable of going off even when he's 1 Sorcerer Apprentice down. So you have to pull off the Antonidas to completely neutralize.
Yeah, and this removal of the Raza here for Tare is good for him and probably annoying for Izzy, to be honest. Oh, he got res. Okay, that's pretty good. Because something you can often rely on against Quest Mage, they can't really spot remove minions. They don't really have the capability.
Play removal.
Yeah, that's what I mean. They don't really have the capability. So getting that trade-off was probably frustrating, but Izzy had the res, so suddenly now. Tare has to start considering whether he needs to Blizzard yet. It's only 8 damage, but it's 8 damage that he takes this turn, and then is he forced into Blizzard next turn? Because if he waits, although I agree 8 damage is fine to take when you're on full health, you do have to think about when you can fit that Blizzard in and when it benefits.
Sure. And I think this would be an overreaction of a Blizzard from my position.
Kind of like an Ice Barrier.
One of the toughest parts of this matchup from both sides, actually, is managing your hand size. You have to be very careful with which spells you take from Primordial Glyph, when you use cards that replace yourself in your hand, like Babbling Book, and when you cast things like Kabbalist Tome that really fill up your hand. Because you need to be free to draw cards at all times. If your hand is so full that you just can't play an Arcane Intellect or a Cold Light Oracle for fear of overdrawing, you probably messed up somewhere along the line. You do have to get cards out of your hand. The same is true from the Priest side, because they don't want to lose key cards to Cold Light Oracle burning them on.
This is a interesting play to me. Because the Doomsayer kind of acts like an Ice Barrier, unless there's only 1 pain. But like playing Ice Barrier and Doomsayer, if the Doomsayer goes off, the board's clear, so the minions don't attack anyway. And Priest can potentially play most of a game without proccing an Ice Barrier.
Right, but again, it's about getting cards out of your hand, right? Like,
true, he did have to place. Yeah.
Once 1 block comes down, you're then stuck with a 2nd block in your hand for a very, very long time. Whereas you play Barrier, the Barrier gets cleared, you can still play Ice Block on a following. And you just start to chew cards out of your hand a little bit quicker. And you go back to exactly what I was talking about before. His hand has an Arcane Intellect and a Kabbalist Token cast at some point, preferably very soon this game.
Next turn is... Oh, this turn has got the insane combo of Blizzard Shatter to kill off any minion he wants, and, you know, oof indeed, but at least Shatter is a low-cost additional spell that will proc the quest that you can actually get off because he has Nova, because he has Blizzard.
Go now.
Well, he gets the coin out of the way.
Yep.
Not like you need coin for some kind of crazy combo.
Ooh.
Unless it's Blizzard.
Still has Frost Nova Shatter available, doesn't have to pair it with the Blizzard to make it work. But again, this is not a Blizzard that mitigates I mean, it mitigates a good chunk of damage, but it doesn't mitigate a massive chunk of damage in terms of percentage of your current health. Right? So this suggests to me, again, Tare is fine with the situation. He thinks he has enough time, thinks he has enough freezes, and again, most importantly, he needs cards out of his hand.
Yeah, and I think that does take priority overall because, like, how much damage are you ever expecting as a maximum Gates Priest anyway? Like, 8 is pretty good if you're the Priest player.
Yeah.
You can say I'm going to punch you for 8 with minions, you're in a good spot.
The damage from Priest comes from the hero power. Like, the
exactly.
boards aren't going to beat you up, it's just that persistent bolt action 2 hitting you after every card that's going to add up very quickly.
If I have done my mathematics correctly, didn't see what was burnt. It's like a hot. Oh, I was looking at the hand, that's why. Anduin wasn't, though. That is huge. If Anduin was burnt, that's almost just game. I don't say you can win.
I mean, Dirty Rat the Antenatal.
Yeah. The rat.
Yeah, I mean, probably the best card to burn, even more so than Anduin is.
Sure. No, though. Because as Tare doesn't have the combo pieces minus one Molten Reflection, whereas if Izzy slams Anduin now, right, he loses a 5/5, sure, but you start going with the damage. And Raz is already down, right? He's already, already got that 0 mana hero power.
He can, but how many turns does it take you, even with the Radza Hero Power active, to chew through 30 plus 2 ice?
Couple with them. Well, how does Tare beat Helen?
With Ice Block and then OTKing the opponent.
It's not even there yet.
Alright, fair enough. And Novice Engineer, exactly what we're looking for. Arcane Intellect as well. He just needs to start cycling. The coin can be thrown away at any point, and Ice Block can come down, clearing space out of the hand where necessary, but starting the turn with the card draw effect, and now starting to get into some business. He didn't have a single key piece up until this turn, just first apprentice being drawn. Down.
Okay, so Tare has a ton of options here. All mainly now focused around just applying that combination of cards, getting them set up for the finisher. Because there's some chaff he has to get rid of. It's Novice Engineer going to help cycle, of course. But he needs to play that Simulacrum at some point. He needs to get the Doomsayer out of his hand so he can play the Simulacrum.
Correct.
Which is very important as well. So now, because he's just edging towards the end of his deck, it's all hand management. Like the coin Ice Block, get it out of the way. Ice Block, you are playing in this game, you want the Ice Block down.
And it looks very much like he might be going off with a Kabbalist Tome on his quest turn as well, which makes it all the more important that he keeps a close eye on his hand side. That's when you can get into burning the quest reward territory.
Yes.
So it's very important that he mitigates this correctly. We'll probably see this Doomsayer being played alongside the Blizzard on a future turn, just to at least have the chance of neutralizing the board as well. Even though it's not overly important in this situation, then he can set up the Simulacrum. He'll still have a spare Ice Block at that point. It's looking like Tare has the necessary number of...
Mine can change a few things, but not enough because it's from deck, right, not hand, which means that the Ice Block's not available. One is live, one is in hand. There's no Ice Block to steal. I like Anduin this turn.
Izzy clearing space. I mean, Izzy doesn't know, right? Like, first things first, Izzy has no idea that the second Ice Block is in. It's a good shot. So from his perspective, this can look like a great play.
Glyph can get in Ice Block. Oh no, he's Priest, right, in Glyph? Yes, sorry.
Yep.
There are some cards that don't work like that, and some that do.
Yeah, like Lyra will give you pre-spell.
Yeah.
But when you discover, it's always a bit fast, as far as I know.
Well played. Izzy already resigned to the fact
honestly,
that he's like,
I think that was his last gambit. He just went for an ice block and just hoped it was going to be good enough. He just didn't find it.
I believe there's an almost guaranteed card draw for effectively drawing the deck here. Or at least very, very close. There's still no Antonidas, and still only one Sorcerer's Apprentice.
Izzy was just expecting to die on that turn, though. I think that's what the well play was about. He just decided he was far enough through his deck at that point that he was just likely to see the Sorcerer's Chain come out, but not just yet.
It's actually a little bit tricky.
Oh, boy. That was a win condition for Izzy, gone down the drain.
That was day. Comes under now, he's got to do something. Does have a Holy Smite as well. Does have Silence, does have a lot of cheap spells, even Forbidden Healing. Doesn't, Forbidden Flame, I apologize. Even gets him an extra hero power, even though it will do 0 damage if you do it on 0 mana.
Yeah.
Oh, did he procs this turn, right?
Yep. It's gone covered.
Nice, I like it.
Holy Smite comes down, finishes the job. Doesn't even need the Forbidden Flame or the Spirit Lash just yet.
He just have a few more spells in hand that are really cheap. Nova does damage as well, so it's got a lot of stuff he can work with. All this is now reliant on Tare. Babbling Brook is, in fact, not Antonidas. So now Ice Block, Doomsayer, Simulacrum, Babbling Brook. You know, like, you kind of just throw everything you don't want out of your hand now.
So, 4 apprentices in hand, 2 with the sorcerers themselves, the 2 Molten Reflections will make 3 and 4, meaning Antonidas pickup will end the game at this point. Izzy has 1 more ice block to deal with.
Tare has 1 draw. Right, can he draw twice?
If he misses, then he goes off with the apprentice and he gets the draw on his next turn after the Time Warp as well. He also gets redraws after that if there are any arcane intellects, etc. remaining at that point.
Okay, well, Tare just has to go now.
Yep.
He goes, plays Time Warp, and then gets additional turn equals additional draw.
And don't worry about the fact that the quest isn't complete just yet. These Kabbalist tomes will take care of that quite happily.
This is funny, Izzy's saying well played. We can see there's no Antonidas, and until there is not game.
Alright, I wouldn't recommend casting that Volcanic Potion. Arcane Intellect is huge.
That might be the game-winning card. He's just making sure he's got enough room in his hand.
Yep.
Doesn't want to do anything funky here. Gonna just, again, get rid of everything he doesn't need. He needs exactly 1 spell once he can play Antonidas next turn to get everything else. Doesn't burn the quest as well. Tare just being very efficient in like, no, I will not lose to some silly misclick, to some silly miscount. Here's the Time Warp. That looks like a legendary to me, and that is going to be game. Tare is going to take this series over Izzy off the back of the 1-turn kill combo from this quest mage. And if you've not seen this before, enjoy a spamming of fireballs for the next few seconds until Izzy presses concede.
They just want to be just like you, Raven. A parade of sorcerers' apprentices discounting this endless chain of fireballs. Priest has nothing to stop this happening, and it looks like Izzy's out of the game already. But we have an inevitable conclusion rule here. That game was well and truly over, and it was over 2 or 3 turns out, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, just had enough. All the draw was able to just get there, and that's one of the frustrations about playing against this mage deck. If you don't have something that's a little bit faster, is if you want time and you give the same amount of time to the mage, probably lose that fight most of the time. It's going to be the end of the round, and we can check out how everyone's looking. Amnesiac 4-0, Luca 4-0, Purple 4-0, and Yates 4-0. I mean, you're looking pretty good,
Yeah,
right?
allow me to recap. Someone put Amnesiac on the board, right? Who was that?
You.
And someone put Purple on the board? Who was that?
And me.
Nice. All right, just wanted to check.
We're pretty good. Let's check out some of the notable players. And we can see maybe some of the other caster suggestions not doing too well. We don't see them on here. Blakers and Deep Pac-Man, both Tavern Heroes at 3-1. Right. This might be the best playoffs in terms of Tavern Hero performance so far.
And Quonet, of course, someone we were made familiar with during the Shanghai event. Muzzy as well, who narrowly missed out, following up his 10-0 record to qualify that event. Also pushing again to make another qualification. We're looking at the prediction board now, and this is getting very, very spicy, Raven.
Yeah, guess what? I'm not at the bottom anymore. I'm even not just above Rob. Technically now I'm above Frodan, and TJ's still at the top with 20, but Subtle, Admirable at 19 each, and then me and Dan still with a long way to go, and Delay's already out for Dan. I believe PNC might be out as well. How are you feeling, Frodan, to actually be beneath me in the tables? Because apparently the leaderboard's based on looks.
Honestly,
I'm sure that was on video.
TJ, you and I stay out of this. I think this is entirely between Raven and Frodan at this point. He's just gonna hold that L.
Frodan's at a loss for words. I'm okay with this.
I know when to fold it, all right? I'm gonna fold it.
I have as many points as both of you guys combined.
I mean, so? I'm better than Frodan. I'm taking it.
You know what? I just want to set the record straight right now. I'm very okay with second place.
That's good to know. I am not. I mean, this needs to happen sooner rather than later. We need to move this guy up to here, and then the big talking point is just this little cluster that's forming down here.
Wait. I don't regret.
I think this goes all the way up to here by the end.
A lot of people would throw their players on, but in the end, if I were to do the same picks, I'd do them again. I believe in the guys that I picked. I believe in their skill. I believe in their preparation. And I believe in their decks. And it didn't work out for me this time, but there's always next year, 2018.
Honestly, Dan, I think you've made very sensible picks overall. I think that's more than can be said for some of Raven's choices so far, though I think he's picked very well for this event.
Robert went out with a bang.
He did.
Yeah, out very quickly. The only player with double, the only caster with double elimination.
A series of 0 mana bangs, one after the other.
Yeah.
We're playing for the trophy, by the way. I thought we were supposed to do more than just predictions, but apparently we're talking about predictions. We're talking about the rest of the round.
Yeah.
Lots of interesting storylines too. You know, it's not really about us necessarily. We always just do it as a fun little way for you guys to track some of the players that are both known and unknown. But I gotta say, man, Tavern Heroes are looking pretty good. And I think you know, it's not even just the two ones like Blakers that are doing well, but also, you know, Ray C technically went through the Tavern Hero, and we know that he's a strong player too.
Yeah.
So I think as more and more the program continues to develop for the Champions Tour, it's going to be less surprising to see Tavern Heroes do very well.
Yeah, just to cover myself, if I do end up getting passed by Subtle or Admirable, I'm all for good stories.
Yeah,
I'm all for the trends to correct themselves, because Subtle already has a trophy. It'd be really cool for him to win another one, right? And Admirable has predicted 2 correct winners this year with Hoy and Surrender, so it'd be really cool for him to win a trophy as well.
Yeah.
Me, I haven't really done anything, so trophy's not even that cool. So I'm ready to lose. Just want to throw that out there.
I think what's impressive is that you actually honor a lot of the categories. I think some people, they kind of cheat a little bit. You know, Phone Tap and PNC, my pick, and I don't pick, not exactly ones to watch, but you actually pick really unknown people when you do your research. I'm very impressed with what you have.
Well, thank you very much, Dan. I appreciate it.
All right, well, we're wrapping up round 4 very shortly. Coming up next on stream, we have Celtic Guard versus Topo Pablo. We'll have a battle between some of the players you've seen before and some you haven't. All this and more when we return to the America's Playoffs.
Is all but out of this game.
Yeah, and to show why, all right, if you haven't seen Big Priest before, Big Priest is one of those decks that this is the optimal outcome.
Oh, yeah.
Decks. You get the Obsidian statue, and then we see 2 copies of Eternal Servitude. That brings back a minion that has already died. And look, there's only 1 minion. There's the 2 Eternal Servitudes. It's going to be Obsidian statues for days for Celtic Guard.
And this is so bad for Topo Pablo. So, Obsidian statue Death Rattle destroys a random enemy minion. Well, it died as a 1/1, but it's going to come back as a 4/8, and it's got lifesteal. Topo Pablo has a 3/3 and weapons.
Now this style of priest can get there later in the game through Shadow Essence, but when it goes off like this, an aggro deck has no chance.
Oh, it's nigh unstoppable if you have the Barnes plus Eternal Servitude combo. Now, Barnes being a legendary, you only get to use one of that card.
Yeah.
So you'll only have it on turn 4 somewhere around 25% of the time. The rest of the time, the deck is filled with all sorts of crazy, somewhat inefficient spells to just try to buy time to clear the board or to catch Shadow Essence and hope you get the right card.
Do you want to point out Topo Pablo's road here? He took out Uju Sasuke, my pick, took out Ananta, but then round 3 and 4, he took out Tare and Killin All Day, who are running the exact same deck list.
Yeah, well, he lost to Killin All Day.
Oh, sorry, he lost to Killin
On the run it back. Both of these players are coming off big losses here. And notice Celtic Guard, he silences the Ysera right away just to get the 412 body. Facing down the Bittertide Hydra now, but with a second Eternal Servitude, Pablo is in trouble. And honestly, Celtic Guard is free to use a Dragonfire Potion, he's free to use Shadow Essence. He has got it all this game.
Yeah. And he's just playing it very carefully. You know, in a game where you're maybe playing this on ladder, you might have just jammed the second Eternal Servitude and just gone, but you know, just make sure you play that extra carefully.
At this point, he's in the beatdown role now. He's turned the corner, and Topo Pablo's the one under pressure. He's gassed out. And while Celtic Guard does have some risk here with the Ysera, once it dies, he'll have Barnes, he'll have one of the Pirates, and he'll have Ysera in his pool. So there is a chance that Eternal Servitude would not get back Obsidian Statue if Ysera were to die.
That's a good point there, and Ysera gets silenced the second time. Obviously, didn't do anything there. We see the Lich King, though, come out
And just wisely taking out Pirates to prevent any sort of shenanigans here. Topo Pablo would need a miracle to win this.
You can see Obliterate, too. You know, it's something where Unwieldy, something Unwieldy were to come out, say that second Bittertide Hydra. There's an immediate answer for that, but yeah, Topo Pablo is going to do the very reasonable thing of just say, well, there's actually just nothing I can do about this. That's how this deck works.
Yeah, and Big Priest is meant to prey on certain archetypes with its major draws. Obviously, against aggressive decks, you have the big Barnes draw. You have the pint-sized Shadow Word Horrors to clear board and buy you some time. It will struggle versus decks that can go toe-to-toe. And, you know, picture like Quest Mage, it's not going to operate well versus Quest Mage. Pretty much any sort of combo deck it's not doing too well against. And we even saw Surrender win that matchup with the Highlander Priest, even though there were multiple Yseras on board after turn after turn. You have to get a little bit lucky still.
Right, but the matchups where it does shine, it absolutely shines. And as we said, it has the ability, with the correct circumstances, to just go off in a manner that, frankly, is just uninteractable.
Yeah, and that's sort of what Sato was talking about. You know, you see that incredible performance. Just go on ladder and jam this deck a bunch and hope that you're going to start winning a bunch of games.
You can actually start developing a board.
And this is still a tough decision for Celtic Guard. You can tell by the way that he stopped on this turn that his instinct is to trade into this Pirate. That looks like just a disastrous trade, but honestly, this might be one of the best opportunities to get to locks. Of course, if he knew Topo Pablo's hand, he would instantly trade. But not knowing it, this is a painful decision for him. He'd love to have landed that Gentle Megasaur. Capitalize and punish. 4-1 Axe will contest everything Celtic has.
It's going to be a cleared board.
Clear skies with a Pirate, 2 Frolicking Berserkers, and a Core Crown Elite, in a matchup that needs board state going into its turn.
Yep. The good news there for Celtic Guard is you are going to be able to get that Corpse Taker online. Has all the accompanying buffs.
This is a really tough spot. Can't go with the hero power.
Do you maybe just play the Megasaur just to contest based on the stats?
Well, it's a possibility, but the problem I'm seeing is that he just has absolutely no way to punish Topo Pablo if anything really lives on. If anything, like, just puts a big hurt on board. The fact that his hand is just clunky and he went for this turn 2 play, he ran right into. It's just been a major problem for him ever since. So I imagine if he's going to really get out of this game, it's probably going to take a Finja Spike Ridge.
Yeah, we did see Celtic Guard kind of agonize a little bit over that turn where he did eventually end up coining out the Murlocs, but just trying to get something going. And against the Pirate Warrior, there's a very real instinct when you're playing that you just have to be as careful as humanly possible. And a lot of times that translates to just getting your own board going, getting something there that allows you to do trades, but what we ended up seeing was 3 mana worth of minions trading into that Bloodsail Raider.
Yeah, and the thing about it is, you look at that play from Celtic Guard and you go, you don't have anything to do on turn 3. What are you doing? And Amnesiac really put this to me best one time. I was practicing Rogue with him. He was just making goofy looking plays. I don't understand what you're doing. He goes, well, I'm playing with the rest of the cards in my deck too, not just the cards in my hand. And it's kind of a stroke of brilliance to hear something like that. You have to account for your draws and something recognize, hey, I just have to draw a good card I can play.
The Zen of Amnesiac is a very wonderful thing. If he ever makes a podcast, I'm there.
That
I'm
Rallying Blade, that would have been so good for Celtic Guard on turn 3.
Still not terrible here.
Now is when the damage starts pouring on.
Yeah.
It's the big issue. The uncontested core card lead.
You would rather draw it than not draw it, but yeah, it would have been certainly would have been better a little bit earlier.
This 1/1 almost feels more painful that it's there.
Oh, double frothing! Oh,
And Topo Pablo has no fear of concentration. It's not Celtic Guard's deck, and look at his face. That says it all.
both players play with a lot of emotion, and you can definitely see how they feel about each play right as it comes online.
Well, there's the Finja. But the problem, again, is just the amount of damage that's coming through. This is 15 on board uncontested. So this will require a 9 miracle.
Look at this. You're removing 4 damage and then adding another 2.
Yeah, so healing 2 power there. 13.
And he's dead.
Yep, plus the heroic strike.
That'll do it, and we're going to have a tie series on our hand, yeah. The end result of that turn where we saw the Murlocs come out possibly just should have been hero power, and then just go ahead and just wait for the Corpse Taker, but it's so hard to make that decision based on that moment.
Maybe even just a 2-3 Murloc. You know, just play it on the board, hope that it gets through for a turn. You know, maybe your opponent just has to use the Fiery Orax on that turn and the Blessing again. The coin. I think that the turn 2 from Celtic Guard was very difficult, and he took a big risk, and it didn't pay off.
Well, I do want to talk a little bit about Celtic Guard, as he is someone we haven't necessarily seen a ton on the HCT streams, but he's someone who's very active in Copa America. He actually placed 3rd in the WESG Brazil qualifier. The jersey you're seeing him wear on stream was his grandfather's. His grandfather actually taught him sports, so he's wearing it in honor of his grandfather. I know, right? Like, some of these players are just like, you're so adorable.
I'm like dragon.
Let's go ahead and take a quick look at some of the other action going around in round 5. There, Luker taking on Purple, Ike taking on Phone Tap, and Fishy taking on Muzzy. So these are all some of the top performers all around the America Summer Playoffs.
Yeah, big matches for Purple. Purple's always so strong when he steps back into the scene. Phone Tap versus Ike, there's two of the picks that are on the board. Then Muzzy still fighting to have a strong finish to secure.
If you tell me Muzzy dropped to 3 or 2, 4, 2, whatever, I wouldn't believe it until I saw it. Muzzy is just that good, and I have no doubt he's going to make it to the top 8. But I'm happy to see Phone Tap having. Phone Tap is someone that we have actually seen all the way back. You and I were casting the 2015 North American qualifiers, and he was back there battling Muzzy, battling some of the other region's best at the time, and he kind of dipped for a while, but he is getting back into the swing of things. Currently sitting at 3 points.
Yeah, I believe this is actually his first HCT appearance in 2017.
Wow. Yeah, doing well so far. Topo Pablo now going to be playing on this Jade Druid and Celtic Guard with the Quest Mage. And I gotta be honest, I'm excited. We haven't had a chance to cast Quest Mage just yet. This is one of those decks where when you think about finality clauses in terms of decks right now, you think about the critical mass of Highlander Priest, you think about the larger green men of Jade Druid, but really Quest Mage is kind of the last argument of Kings. It just gets to the point where it's like, well, actually, I'm going to take 2 turns, and if you don't have Ice Block and that's it, I'm going to kill you.
Yeah, and something that I noticed here is that Celtic Guard actually pitched away Primordial Glyph in his opening hand. His hand now is pretty gosh darn bad until he draws the Primordial Glyph. So now, Celtic Guard's goal is basically just to find card draw, and then draw through the deck until he assembles the ultimate combo. Sorcerer's Apprentice, duplicate it multiple times, your spells start costing 0, and then you Archmage Antonidas and I'm out of the game.
Yeah, that's an important thing to notice about this style of Quest Mage versus the pure Journey to Ungoro Quest Mage. Journey to Angora build had a little bit of spot removal, right? It had a little bit more in the way of defensive tools. This version lately is just 100% about completing the quest and lines up so well with so many of the quest decks now. It's all in on that quest and then you win the game.
Yeah, so I'm actually kind of surprised it took as long as it did to kind of figure out that this deck just didn't need that much removal. I remember every quest mage that I played early on had 2 crossbolts in it. It had a polymorph in it. I wanted to try to answer things. I never really considered the idea of simply playing through the curve very strong and getting to the end game. And here, Celtic Guard plays the created ice block prior to open the way gate. So you can see where his plan is. It's get development on the board and then hope that he scales into his card draw and finds Kabbalist tomes and can create all these extra spells and eventually get there. The fact that he has no card draw and Doomsayer is his lone draw and Topo Pablo is holding Spellbreaker, this is the situation where Quest Mage struggles to basically any deck, especially.
Certainly something to consider. We see there, though, on the bottom, Amnesiac, first player to get 5-0. So the young Savage making good on his word. You know, he called that he would be going to the World Championship, and he's certainly trying to make it happen.
Yeah, at 5-0, he is almost a lock for the top 8. When you start out with 5 straight wins, your opponent's records are so strong. Tiebreakers are incredible going into the last rounds. Even if you pick up 2 losses in a row, the people you lost to 5-0 and 5-1.
Yeah, it's obviously he's hoping for a slightly different outcome from the winter season, where once again he was knocking on the door.
Oh yeah,
wasn't quite able to seal the deal, but Amnesiac coming in hot as you would expect.
It's over in 70% win rate. HCT.
Goals were to not bring Rogue in to win, so thus far he's
solid goals
doing those things. Yeah, we see here the Jade continuing to grow and the Ram continuing to go. So
yeah, Topo Pablo's game plan it's just super straightforward. It's make large man and then make an even larger man.
Sure.
Draw a lot of cards.
What color?
They're green.
Those are green knights.
And eventually they start wearing some mystical looking armor that someone I would never want to face in a fist fight. And Celtic Guard finally picks up card draw. And
desperately needed. He was pretty much sitting on nothing.
Well, the problem is the Cold Light Oracle finds Topo Pablo huge pickup in its own right, but that's a natural ice block now. 3rd ice block available for Celtic Guard, and he picked up Arcane Intellect. He's got a ton of time to work.
Yeah, I just needed to when you all in so heavily on this quest mechanic to win the game, you have to find card draw. You have to start getting through your deck.
Yeah.
And the Cold Light Oracle, again, as you pointed out, giving Topo Pablo some powerful cards, but that is the toll you're willing to pay so that you yourself can dig to your game-winning conclusion.
I forgot to mention this, the tech that Topo Pablo has brought. When you're bringing Jade Druid to a tournament lineup, you have to heavily consider what your opponents are bringing to fight against you. He's included a copy of Dirty Rat specifically for matchups like this one. He can hit a Sorcerer's Apprentice or hit the Archmage Antonidas. There's a good chance that Celtic Guard simply can't win the game.
That is an excellent point. The Dirty Rat could just close this game out.
It could. Now, the one kicker here is that Celtic Guard has 2 copies of Molten Reflection, which duplicates a minion play. Got a copy of Simulacrum, which will duplicate a minion, the lowest costed minion. So if he finds the 2nd Sorcerer's Apprentice, like so, suddenly the likelihood that Topo Pablo completely blows Celtic Guard out by pulling that Sorcerer's Apprentice, much lower.
Could always just yank that Doomsayer too. It is nice that the Doomsayer has just been sticking around.
It is something Celtic Guard has to think about is how many minions should I hold in hand to try to mitigate Dirty Rat?
Again, the players do know the deck list, so he knows that Dirty Rat is in there.
Yeah, at this stage, likely very little. And not really a consequential. Topo Pablo's looking to get out as much as possible.
I was going to say, there really aren't that many burns in this situation where, as Topo Pablo, you're like, darn it, that was integral to my win condition.
Yeah, really nothing left in the deck, I'd say.
Topo Pablo there hovering over the spreading plague, but actually doing it might be looking to get rid of cards.
It does protect his 2/2 a little bit, so it keeps chipping away. It is important that he keeps the pressure as high as possible. Celtic Guard right now. So anything that will get on the board and deal some damage is good. Frankly, I like this one. Double swipe, hit him in the head, Jade Idol, giddy up. This is a big problem for Celtic Guard, who's now getting a threatened block pop on his turn 7. That's usually a little too early for Celtic Guard. Notice that he doesn't even have space to Kabbalah Stone right now. Has to and empty.
And we were talking about that Doomsayer potentially falling prey to the Spellbreaker, but there's also a world where the Spellbreaker, if the freeze comes down, just unfreezes the Ghoul and just pops the block.
Yeah, and with the 4/4 on board, Topo Pablo will even have the liberty to pop it at 1. 1 cost Arcane Intellect is a big benefit for Celtic Guard. So how Topo Pablo plays this turn is super key. He doesn't really have the gas to reload scenario if the silence failed. So I imagine we're going to be seeing Terror Wraths first.
Thing to note, we've seen 1 Ultimate Infestation in 2 swipes. So there's 1 more source of direct damage that can hit face in that second Ultimate Infestation. Otherwise, the Ice Block will pick up value and actually be kind of a problem for Topo Pablo.
Yep. Pablo going to dirty that right into it. So that tells me he's popping the Ice Block. There's now no reason to silence it there. Let's put Celtic Guard to the test. Do you have another Ice Block? Here, with Ice Barrier in hand, Celtic Guard actually gets a tremendous amount of value from that Ice Barrier. He knows the first Lexicon, he knows that Ultimate Infestation is the only direct damage. Contest. Stuff.
All right, well, a clear board and set to 1 now.
Beautiful draw for Celtic Guard as well. Gets the Ice Block, the Ice Barrier, and the Doomsayer for Clear Skies if he wants. He's got so many strong options this turn. Even though he's only at 1, Topo Pablo is in a lot of trouble in this spot.
Another update from what's going on around the rest of the tournament. We see D Pac-Man, a Tavern Hero, now at 4-1. So another great victory for the Tavern Heroes out there.
Here, Celtic Guard has seen the Spellbreaker from Topo Pablo at this point, so the next one will go off if he's actually able to freeze the board. He's seen a Wrath as well. So it could take quite literally Ultimate Infestation plus a Wrath to kill a Doomsayer. And at 1, you probably can imagine that Ultimate Infestation.
Yeah, you would think.
Topo Pablo is he knows that this is Ice Barrier. He will not be attempting to pop the Ice Block this turn, I don't think.
That's interesting. Could actually just go ahead and Wrath Fandral just to draw. Wow. I mean, if you really just want to get to Ultimate Infestation.
So this gives Topo Pablo the information of how much damage. It's easy innervate Jason. He just really doesn't have that many other.
I must protect the one. Nature must be preserved.
Right, down comes the Behemoth and just building that board again. Going to work through it the old-fashioned way. And no card draw here for Celtic Guard. You could go ahead and play the Kabbalah Stone, but that leaves him on a 4-mana turn. How long ago did the Ultimate Infestation come out from Topo Pablo? We're just seeing...
All right, it's turn 6.
Yeah, we're just seeing Celtic Guard just hit 9 mana.
Now, honestly, he's probably got a Kabbalah. Drawing the back-to-back Arcanauts in this spot is just absolutely brutal. But he's gotta get some gap. He knows his blocks are not freeze. No freeze. Reload from Topo Pablo plus what I would call a failed Kabbalah Stone.
I don't know. There's no shatters in there. That's usually my metric for failed Kabbalah Stone. The worst I've had is a 2-shatter Kabbalah Stone. I'm still waiting for that day I get the 3.
The big one was just the back-to-back Arcanologist draws. At this stage, some of the worst draws in Celtic Guard's deck. Notice the Doomsayer here is meant to try to get clear skies in the event that Topo Pablo goes straight for the Ice Block. When you're in a bad situation, you just try to get what you can. And with Malfurion in hand, Topo Pablo is free to pop this Ice Block in a somewhat inefficient way. The amount of life he gets from this is completely irrelevant. You need something like 300 armor to last through all the animations fireballs being launched at you from.
Is that actually, has that been tested?
It's high 200 armor.
I feel like, I was gonna say, I feel like Reddit would just know the exact number. Somebody out there is trying.
Someone out there.
Actually, one off it looks like from being able to kill the Doomsayer and pop the block.
Well, I'm curious if Topo Pablo missequenced this with the way it ended up being played. I mean, he will lose his board here if he pops this block now. But again, I just don't think that matters while he's got Malfurion. Celtic Guard doesn't find another ice barrier, there's no punishment. And Elephant got in his last shot before it went down.
Fade away. Not a engineer, welcome side.
Black Room. So Eldegard's got to get that Arcanologist out of hand. He's got to get the Ice Block down. He's also got to find. So we may be looking at Celtic Guard trying to just take a big risk in the next couple of turns, get this done.
Next turn is a 1 in 7 chance to draw the Archmage.
Really would have loved to use that extra mana, simply cast something here, but.
And with the block 100% getting popped.
It's the Firelands pull too. He still needs something defensive in this spot to stay alive. It's about one more turn. Happen. Lovely Doomsayer from Topo Pablo.
What's in the box?
Picks up a spell that costs 5 or less. I believe he can complete quest this turn. Oh no, he's one off. He's got to get Firelands Portal's got to get cast somehow. Playing that ice block prior to the quest, looking back to turn 3, may have cost Celtic Guard in this game. Can't complete quest and cast the Time Warp.
He's gonna go ahead and play down the Sorcerer's Apprentices, play the Molten Reflections.
Wait, can he? Maybe I lied. Maybe I just can't do math. Yeah, that'll do it. Topo Pablo, 2-1 lead. And remember, Celtic Guard's deck is meant to prey on Jade Druid and on Highlander Priest. He fails the Jade Druid side. Can he win versus the Priest matchup?
Topo Pablo taking his time about this one, too. There we see the 3 damage connect to face. That is going to be 2-1 for Topo Pablo.
Wow. And that, again, just sort of a brutal spot. I wonder if Celtic Guard had played the quest prior to that created ice block, would he have gotten it? Now, we're looking at, he would have had a fresh draw.
No, it certainly seems like it would have been close, but considering how close he was to the finish line by the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was right there.
Still needed Archmage Antonitis, but 7 cards left in the deck, still some card draw left. Anyone's game at that point.
It doesn't feel like it would have been too bad odds. We're going to take a short break, and when we get back, game number 4, can Topo Pablo close it out? What are you really looking to do with that 5 damage?
And honestly, drawing the Antonitis, it's a key turn to look at because now Dirty Rat is online for some automatic win potential by pulling the Antonitis.
I really wish we could just go back and watch Topo Pablo's matches, because I'm curious if the Dirty Rat pulled off any of those snipes. There's a fair number of quest mages running around.
The Burn Bully is just a major problem here with Celtic card. He wants to make some progress here. He's going to have to feed Topo so much extra mana.
I think Tomo Pablo is about to become extremely rich in coin.
And it might be too rich. I mean,
I was going to say he might actually just end up milling cards.
he gets to 4 coins in hand right now. Does risk a burn. Nice block.
I mean, how do we even start this? Go ahead and Shadow Visions. Look for something. I mean, what are you even looking for?
That's a great question. Greater healing most of Topo Pablo's spells just, again, being 30 life doesn't stop you to a big combo from Celtic card. No spells in Topo Pablo's deck that can take a card. Celtic card stack, like Thought Steal, Mind Vision. Spirit Lash is not an indicator of desperate Topo Pablo is to find Shadow Reaper and Raza. No ways.
I mean, it looked like he had the play in mind. He knew what he wanted to do, and now he's just kind of rethinking it.
Going to count for hand space here. Topo Pablo says, you know what? I don't really want to draw right now. I don't want to weaken my board. I have decent pressure going.
Ooh.
Old Light Oracle goes up, but now Celtic card has a chance to hold his hand and see if he can burn something. He's going to start with Blizzard. Looks like he's going to roll into Kabbalah's Tome or that Cold Light Oracle as soon as he unlocks enough mana to pass for the draws from his cards.
All right, and then another update from around the tournament. We see Blink is now 4-1. That is another Tavern hero into 4-1. So we were talking about earlier, they're having a pretty solid day thus far. Benedictus?
It's Archbishop Benedictus. You take your opponent's deck and add it to yours. The Kazakus is out of the way, but the Raz is not. That is such a weird card. I don't even know how to begin evaluating whether or not that's a reasonable play right now. Raza gets drawn.
All right, you're some of the way there.
Stressed. His hand size has to account for Cold Light, has to account for the extra coins from Burgley Bullet. Just come back to bite him if he doesn't fix his hand size real quick.
There are a lot of decisions to be made here. This is far from the sort of game where you just equip weapons and hit people in the face.
Celtic Guard wants to burn now. It is very much available. It does. That is a big from me as well. And Celtic Guard realizes that he should have made coins first. Yeah. Now, the good news for him is that the cards Topo Pablo drew, fairly irrelevant. But that is a big mistake.
For the wild.
Such expensive cards from the game as well. It's difficult.
Your favorite card? Burned. Gone. Cabal Shadow Priest? Where it belongs.
It's Topo Pablo is so glad that's not in his deck anymore.
He feels better about it.
Yeah. He's like, oh,
But how are you going to steal that 2-2?
I don't even know why I'm playing this card.
What was I thinking?
Doesn't do anything.
I mean, again, it would have stolen that cold idea. Stolen. That's yours now.
He's going for the bishop. I've
Okay,
never seen this animation.
That's pretty sick. That is a pretty sick animation, objectively.
It's turn 8. He's got 29 cards in the deck. You usually have to be playing Jade Druid to do something like that.
Riddle me this, Batman. Does this not get you farther away from your Shadow Reaper Anduin?
Well, he might not need it. I mean, the board is building huge right now. But Celtic Guard has a lot of freezes left. I think Topo Pablo's plan is simply to pressure, but now that he's got Ice Block potentially in his deck, he's looking to play Shadow Visions and dig for that Ice Block. However, Celtic Guard's already drawn both Ice Blocks. So I think Topo Pablo's plan is foiled here.
This is a weird game. They don't teach you about this kind of stuff in the casting academy. You know, they don't prepare you for real world situations like Benedictus Highlander.
It's a strange game to say the least. Celtic Guard, once again, he's counting to figure out how, if he should, if he can, burn cards. That 1-cost Frost Nova, he will be able to use the Greater Arcane Missile. Oh, get him. Looking for.
You're keeping track. That Novice Engineer did not start in Topo Pablo's deck. That was Celtic Guard's Engineer.
Will Pablo just combo him back somehow? I know the Archmage is in Celtic Guard's hand. But
The Archmage is in there. The quest is already online.
just hypothetically speaking, could he get multiple Radiant Elementals?
But what do you combo?
Primordial Glyph? No,
But you need it. You need it in Tinnitus, though. That's the whole catalyst of the combo.
Right. From Topo Pablo's perspective, though, there's a chance all those cards are in
Oh yeah, from his perspective. So
Yeah.
you're saying there's a chance,
just saying, in another timeline.
right? This is the game that this particular match has actually brought out alternate timeline
Okay,
discussions.
this is just weird now. With the Radiant Elemental, he didn't take the Molten Reflection. Imagine the Radiant Elemental, the Molten Reflection, the Kabbalist Tome. Like, can he chain something together there? This is not a game that Topo Pablo has practiced that many times.
I mean, who has practiced this matchup? Honestly, nobody. There's one damage.
Oracle, don't make the same mistake again.
Come on, Celtic Guard.
That's the goal here.
Come on, buddy. Give him some coins first.
Just trying to increase the missile value. Got it. Burn.
Oh, there goes Topo Pablo's combo.
It's done!
The dream is dead.
Got the radio. Back it up. He's gonna Kabbalist Tome here. This is actually dangerous for Celtic Guard. Imagine if he finds Ice Block. That completely destroys the combo Celtic Guard, and he's not gonna be able to attack pretty much anytime soon. From Celtic Guard's perspective, that secret represents a disaster.